very much.
Hello, hello.
All right, fellas. Well, that's a nice gear you got. I hope you dropped off my swag.
It's in the back.
All right, perfect. Well, I really want to hear about Akudo specifically because I came up with this title, Fork This, Give Me Another L1. There are so many layer one technologies out there today. Certainly not as many as there were 10 years ago. But why do we need new blockchains?
Yeah, sure. And yeah, thanks everyone for having us here today, and good to meet you all. So my name's Pete. I'm VP at Kudos. So to answer your question, great title by the way, Fork Me. I think if we look to one of our investors came up with a great analogy, and he said, you've got all these great cities around the world. You've got Tokyo, Sydney, London, Paris, Miami, New York, Denver, of course, right, for this crowd. Each of them have got their own community. They've all got their unique culture. They all offer something different. But you can travel around those different cities, right? So there's a purpose. There's a reason why they can all coexist and collaborate. And it's the same with blockchains, I think. So for us personally, we the founding team all come from the kind of cloud data center network infrastructure backgrounds, 20 plus years experience in doing that and scaling cloud platforms. And so that's actually where we really wanted to come into this space and fill a gap. The layer one blockchain provides, Kudos provides access to what is going to be a huge decentralized cloud computing platform, effectively via the smart contracts. So it offers something a little bit different, and it just means that we can now work with all of these other layer ones as well and become that computing layer for them and provide those computing oracles through smart contracts.
Yeah, so it's really a true first time we've seen the merger between an L1 and L2 compute layer. I think that's what makes it really exciting. And beyond smart contracts, you can also plug into our layer 2 decentralized cloud compute through APIs as well. So it's not just limited to blockchain. Actual big enterprises can come on board too and have us, and then that way we can compete with Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, and the like as well.
That's interesting. I mean, it seems like we've been at least under the impression that blockchain isn't currently and perhaps never will be a great ecosystem for heavy files or large data streaming, movies, and we use hashes to reference these things, but they still exist in a Web 2 ecosystem unless they're on, IPFS. I mean, what's the secret sauce here that allows you to store large files?
Yeah. Okay. So let's take it a little bit back further, and the way that we've kind of designed the network is kind of almost like an Airbnb business model that we've applied to cloud play, right? So a huge distributed computing network is what we built, and then the blockchain allows us to kind of decentralize that and to come to the validation of the tasks on there. So on the supply side, if you think of it as a marketplace, you fill the stock room first. So we actually launched with a monetization app back in 2019, and we scaled that to over 500,000 users now. Now that's coming in from 3 different core audiences. It's coming in from gamers with gaming PCs, and we're also working with one of the console makers, and hopefully we'll come out with a version of that later this year. As well. That gives us a very consumer edge network, right, where you can send things like scientific workloads that don't have any personalized data, so it can just be sharded up, doesn't need any local storage, and it can be pushed to these edge devices, right? But you wouldn't be able to send a Disney film to that because it's sensitive to the IP, the type of clustering that you require to get the performance, high security, high bandwidth, etc. So we've got the gamers, and we go through big brands like AMD that we partner with. We've then got miners and the mining farms, and particularly I'm talking about kind of GPU mining farms here because of the enormous amounts of compute that they can offer. And then the third kind of audience is your service providers. So your kind of not your Amazons, not yours. Yours is the next layer down that we focus on. So same levels of security, compliance, environment they're sat in, but it's that next kind of tier of service provider with idle equipment. And the whole idea is that we can make use of that existing computing power out there. Kudos is just the enabler. The actual blockchain is the enabler to that, and it offers that transaction layer as well. So, sorry, Simon, you probably want to jump in here, but if I take metaverse as just one kind of example to put it into play here, there's reports that have come out saying that for to realize the ambitions of the metaverse, we're going to need 1,000 times the amount of computing power, right? So, this needs to be a highly scalable platform that we're building. And to be able to do that, where you're minting the assets, you're transacting the assets, you're recording things to blockchain over the layer one, but then able to access that computing power without having to go separately to an AWS or an Azure or one of those hyperscalers, we believe that's where the kind of game changer is, yeah.
So it sounds like you're basically fractionalizing what data centers do now, and spreading that compute. I mean, that's a pretty disruptive model to something like Amazon Web Services. Is that the goal? Is that
I think we can. They're a $2 trillion, $3 trillion. They're probably $5 trillion company by the time we finish on here, right? We're nibbling at the hill, but there's no way a bite or anything yet. I think, like I said, we're an alternative that's out there.
Right.
There are going to be use cases that AWS provides the scale, but it's completely overcooked for what's actually needed. Requirement-wise.
Now, Simon, what impact do you think this is going to have on community? And we're here to talk about DAOs and how we can establish communities that are more, let's call it proactive or more performant than traditional companies that have traditional organizational structures. What do you see happening to the environment with Kudos?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a couple of our core values is around sustainability and inclusivity, right? And so by launching our mainnet, which we're launching this month, we're going to be also launching more governance-based initiatives, more community-based initiatives. As executive advisor to Kudos, I'm actually going to be helping them stand up and launch the foundation. And that's going to be a pretty big deal because out of the foundation is going to be really the core purposes around any foundation is around expansion and amplification of their network and the ecosystem that blockchain brings to life. And so in terms of kind of community initiatives, we're going to be looking at actually a three tiers of grants to give around developer grants, startup grants, and the last category is community and education grants. So just bringing people together around and identifying community champions to teach them about Kudos, teach them develop more oracles and more nodes and infrastructure services on our blockchain, and just overall look at growing our ecosystem and having it really take a life of its own, making the community, creating network effect with the community that builds a life on its own. And we already have great partners like Algorand, Outlier Ventures, many AMD, PlayStation, many others. They're also carrying our flag as well, so we'll be tapping those communities as well to take it to the next level. While still every blockchain says, oh yes, we're carbon neutral, we're this and that, but I think we have an opportunity to be even carbon negative and do some interesting things around carbon offsets as well as part of the foundation and everything that we're doing.
Wow, that's great. So how do you feel about giving grants to geospatial audio tour companies? I'm just kidding.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, I think what you guys are doing is really interesting. But tell me, just from the technical perspective, when I sent this out, you said, "Hold on, we're not forking anything." What are you doing? What are you building on?
Yeah, sure. So we're a Tendermint chain. So we've used the Cosmos SDK. So some pretty big, well-known ones in there, like Luna or Terra, should I say, Crypto.com, Akash Network as well. It's a kind of similar effort to us, Pocket Network, etc. So, but we chose Tendermint for a key reason. That's because of IBC. So it's the Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol. A key. Apart from sustainability, as Simon's been talking about, interoperability is huge for us because we do actually feel like, we fill that gap for other blockchains that we can work with those blockchains and providing that computing layer. So being able to, IBC instantly unlocks any chain within that's got IBC integrated, and I think there's about 200 chains or something now that are either developing in production or have gone live within Cosmos. So it's going to become a huge kind of ecosystem there. We can all kind of share resources as well. And for me, I think and I'm not the techie, by the way, but from kind of experience in the previous internet industry, if you want the old stuff, then IBC is kind of like TCP/IP and what that brought to the internet, and just providing that kind of standardization of communication.
Excellent. Well, TCP/IP hasn't really changed in like 50 years. So hopefully, we can build models that are more evolutionary. But that's great. So what's your ask for our audience?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we are about to go mainnet within the next week. So, it's just right around the corner. We've got hackathon set up. I think there's about 880 developers that are kind of ready to jump on. But, opening up to the room here as well, we want to work with some really cool, like-minded people. If you've got projects, whatever kind of blockchain use case, or maybe even a cloud computing use case, right? That's stuff that is you're not looking at the moment because it's, we're running that on the standard cloud. So anything like that, we just want to work with you. Simon, on the foundation side, we got anything?
Yeah. So a lot of asked. Like I said, we're just the foundation is just being set up right now. But really, there's 4 core tenets to the foundation that we have. We have ecosystem growth, which includes startup competitions, hackathons, bug bounty programs, everything else. We have developer amplification and just bringing on more developers, giving them the education, the tools, the resources needing to understand what is Kudos, why we should build on it, what we need for further integrations across IBC and also EVM-based blockchains. And we also have obviously just great community initiatives that we're going to be rolling out. More hackathons, more regional-based events and things like that. And also, fourth key piece of the foundation is really enterprise and this enterprise participation. So identifying major enterprises that can utilize our network, where we can kind of co-develop POCs in that light as well, and that'll obviously further our mission of the advancement of the Kudos network. So we're seeking great developers, we're seeking great connections. The grant program, you can see a QR code right up here. Actually, that takes you to our grant application, so that's live even before our website. It is quite detailed. Don't try to fill out the application on your phone. It will take you probably at least an hour to do, if not more than that. But we're just seeking great minds and that believe in our dream and want to come build with us, and also just expand into all of our partners that we're working with as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for dropping that alpha here. I know I promised it to our audience. So you're looking for blockchains to work with various different blockchains that have enterprise relationships, right? Excuse me. Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming out, guys. This is Kudos.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.